I think this article might be the one that actually worries you then, Dan.
Okay.
Because one of the things we need, and we've been talking about how we need the government to step in and help us. Biden affordability efforts make no waves in the housing industry. So this is
But
terrible news.
Just off the title, though, is that like, wah, wah, it makes no waves, it's not going to do anything? Or is it like, no, it's not making any waves, it's fine? Like, how do you read this?
That's a good point. I took it as like it's not working. But you think it may be like, well, this is smooth sailing.
Yeah, it's just they're just trying to dip their toe in the water. It's not making any waves. Everything's cool. They're just trying to help.
Ripple. They're just putting a little ripple into the housing market to see what they can do.
Yep, they're just dipping their toe in.
Let's see. Okay. Last week, Biden administration unveiled a multi-pronged proposal for federal agencies to address the lack of housing inventory ahead of action from Congress.
Okay, I just changed my opinion. I reread what I wrote. So, okay, go on. Sorry.
While the announcement didn't include any major new programs, federal agencies will start programs that previously lapsed, such as the U.S. Treasury and the Department of Housing and Urban Development's risk-based sharing program, and the increased funding for existing programs in the Federal Housing Finance Agency, that's FHFA. They announced a significant increase from $1 billion to $1.7 billion in government-sponsored enterprise investments in low-income housing tax credit projects.
Okay.
The lack of supply is a huge problem. And HUD and FHFA should do what they can administratively while Congress considers more significant initiatives, said Brooksmith. This is what were you I could hear you laughing.
I forgot what I wrote, and now
he's the president of the Mortgage Bankers Association. Okay. He said the MBA looks forward to continuing to work with the administration, Congress, and other stakeholders on ways to address supply constraints and issue government programs appropriately to complement the private capital to help both renters and homeowners. So is that what they're talking about? Actually giving some sellers some relief by encouraging development in specific areas?
Oh, I mean, that's the thought behind it. Yeah. But go on.
All right. I'm just the National Association of Realtors, which represents real estate agents and whose Fannie is in the hot seat, was also very supportive of those efforts by the administration, who they hope won't sue them, especially those actions directed at preventing corporate landlords from buying single-family homes. The FHFA will extend the period owner occupants, public entities, and nonprofits, they have to buy Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac real estate owned properties before competing with investor bids. So for those of you who don't know, if you're a consumer watching this, you're like, what was that? So whenever there's a property that hits the market that is being foreclosed on, there's a period of time in which if you're a home owner, like you're going to own that home yourself and live there, owner occupant, or if you're a charity or a government or a public entity, you will have preferential treatment in putting your bid in over an investor or a corporation who wants to buy it as a second home or invest in that property and make money off of it.
And they want to extend that period.
That's right. They're going to extend that period before they entertain investor bids.
Okay, so now it sounds like they want to create or rehab or build a bunch of new homes, right?
Like 100,000 homes in 3 years.
Okay. That's 33,000 homes a year. That's not going to solve, we're 6 million homes low right now.
Yeah, that's what D. Jones said, but there's no HUD homes.
There's no HUD homes.
So just like buying politicians, companies are now buying, are now people buying homes. So this is really interesting. I had something happen to me in this market that had never happened before. So I actually was on Clubhouse the other day and I asked some Clubhouse members about it. And I said, have you ever dealt with this company? What the company was doing is they buy the house and then turn around and owner finance it or lease option it to another person. And that person didn't have the credit, they didn't have the history or anything in order to be able to use traditional financing. So this situation is actually preventing those companies, from doing that and buying those homes in lease option or owner financing. But I don't know if that's good or bad one way or the other. I know there were some other agents in larger markets talking about huge neighborhoods that were being bought by basically hedge fund type groups. They would come in and buy this entire neighborhood and turn it into a rental, or then try to flip the neighborhood and all kinds of stuff like that. So it's interesting to see what's going on. Basically, what the administration has put into place apparently is not going to do that much. And I think that's the general consensus.
I think that's the wave they mean.
Yeah. It doesn't look like a ton of relief for sellers who, we've been talking about how are they going to encourage sellers to list their house. We talked about builders. Maybe they can incentivize builders. It looks like they're going to continue the incentives that are already put into place for that. But builders are having a hard time building stuff that people are already pre-selling, right?
It does mention stuff about certain zones and opportunity zones and stuff like that, but I don't know. Again, that's future builds. That's going to be 2-3 years from now. There you go. I've been saying it for months. So when you read the article, you're like, okay, cool. They want to incentivize sellers, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then there's no meat in this article about that. And it's 100,000 homes, which is great. Let's do 100,000 homes. Let's not do that. But over the next 3 years, that's not a big splash at all. That's nothing. So then I reread the title. Now the wave is like, they're not going to cause any waves. And then if you want to highlight Jeremy James, he says it, what we've been saying on the show for a long time, because all of their efforts are buyer focused and not incentivizing sellers. So if you really want to solve this, how do you incentivize a seller? If you're selling and buying, you get a $5,000 credit. Or we'll put in, if the house isn't, I can think of 1,000 ideas. I don't want to go through them on the show, but you can think of 1,000 ideas to really help sellers. Even, I don't know, cash out in there. You could, I can't even get into it. It's just so frustrating that it doesn't matter what administration is here. We need relief for sellers. We need sellers to get off the fence. And it's like, here's another $2,500 credit if you buy a home today.
You know what they could do is like a seller who lists their home and then they have that interim period in which they can't buy stuff and all that. They could actually do some kind of incentive where if that seller had to rent back the property while they search for another home, maybe they get a break there. Or if there's something that would encourage them to list their home before they found a different home, then if everyone did that, we'd probably be in like a normal feeling housing market.
Yeah.
Okay, Dan. Well, here's a big problem.
Okay, let's go to the next one. By the way, DJ says, let's get Dan to Washington. I'm in. Let's go.
Let's get Dan to Washington.
Ray and I would be great, by the way, because we're centrist-ish, but then one goes this way and one goes that way. We'd have some great discussions just on our own. I think we could solve it all just between the two of us. But anyway.
Yeah, Jonathan Pyron, he's in my market. He says, yes, I've had an offer on a listing in Maumelle from HPA you were talking about. We did not take it. Yeah, that's the one. That's the one who offered.
There you go.
They backed out in like 2 days they put in the best offer and they were like, I wouldn't want it. I don't know.
Right, so anyway, does that mean they put out a bunch of different offers and got something else accepted? Or
well, maybe. But one of the things we did to them is that we noticed in the contract that it wasn't dependent upon the person they were representing approving the home. So we kind of put in our counter to make sure that it had no bearing on anyone else, that they were going to buy the home anyway, and they did not sign that counter.
Aha.